Welcome to POS 110, American Politics. In this course, we will cover topics about the design and process of American national government. But before we delve into more advanced topics, it is important to establish a core language about what this course is essentially about. In particular, we will focus on conceptualizing the concepts of politics and government. Since this class is about politics, we need to begin with a clear definition. One of the most common definitions, put forth by the well-known political scientist Harold Lasswell, is one of the most instructive, and we will use it to frame our discussions throughout this semester. Lasswell, who's pictured here, defined politics as who gets what, when, and how. In other words, politics is a way of determining, without recourse to violence, who gets power and resources in society and how they get them. Politics is about who gets what, when, and how. The who in the definition are those that are seeking power and influence. Some examples include political parties, Republicans and Democrats, interest groups, the NRA, the Sierra Club, or other interests such as farmers, teachers, students, business owners. The what in the definition of politics is about power and resources. Power is the ability to get other people to do what you want them to do. This could involve constitutional authority for the politician that won a particular office to distribute resources. The resources in question here might be governmental jobs, tax revenues, laws that help you get your way, or public policies that work to your advantage. The definition of politics also involves when power is wielded or when resources are distributed. For example, power can be determined on election day or after Congress convenes. This is an important part of the puzzle of politics because it helps identify the context for when those in power gained influence and when they did not. Other examples include presidential elections, which are scheduled every 4 years on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November on even-numbered years, Inauguration Day for U.S. presidents, which occurs on January 20th following the November election of the previous year, and when Congress convenes. The 20th Amendment of the Constitution mandates that a new Congress convene at noon on January 3rd in each odd-numbered year, unless it previously passed a law designating. Another key part of the definition of the concept involves how power and resources are distributed. These are essentially the rules that determine how the game of politics is played. In the American context, these rules include how leaders are chosen to govern, vote count thresholds, who is eligible to become a leader, age, citizenship, and residency requirements, and how laws are made, separation of powers, and the system of checks and balances. The reason why this is key to understand how politics functions is because these rules can vary widely and can determine who can govern and what they can do with their formal powers. The textbook generally defines government as formal institutions and procedures that exercise authority over a body of people. In other words, governments determine who gets what in a society. In the U.S. context, there are 3 branches of government. We won't talk about these in detail just yet, but do note that they make up the U.S. government and are responsible for determining who gets what. Authoritarian systems empower a select few, if not one person, to control the government. These rulers have complete discretion to determine how society is organized socially and economically. Some examples of countries with authoritarian systems include North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and China. Non-authoritarian systems are systems that limit the powers of the government and place ultimate sovereignty in the people. Contrary to ruling by the few, democracies empower the masses to rule. Democracies vest the power in the people. Some examples of constitutional democracies include the United States of America, France, Italy, Denmark, Holland, Chile, Brazil. Although there are many democracies in the world, not all are the same in terms of giving its citizens power and freedoms. Thus, scholars have listed a few requirements that are needed to be a full democracy. 1. Government should have elected officials that represent the people's interests. 2. Government should be held accountable by the people. The terms democracy and republic are used throughout this course. To distinguish the two, note that democracy essentially means that citizens are sovereign and hold the ultimate power. Republic is a democratic system, but simply indicates that people rule indirectly For the sake of illustration, let's explore what makes the United States of America a democracy that grants sovereignty to the people. The Declaration of Independence states very explicitly that the government's powers should be derived by the consent of the people, and if for whatever. Another founding document, the U.S. Constitution, essentially establishes the same principles to organize American government.